All right, get ready, because today we are diving deep into a Hollywood feud
Ooh, juicy.
that's giving everyone whiplash.
Sounds dramatic. I'm in.
So we're talking about all the drama surrounding the It Ends With Us movie adaptation.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, with director Justin Baldoni and actors Blake Lively and Ryan Reynolds right at the heart of it.
That's quite a trio.
For sure. And our source for this deep dive
Okay.
is a Candace Owens YouTube video.
All right. So we know we're in for some spicy takes.
Oh, you know it.
You know, I love how these deep dives always uncover those hidden layers of Hollywood.
It's stuff we don't normally see, right?
Exactly, like how narratives can flip just depending on who's got the power.
And who's controlling the story.
Right.
Yeah, and you would think with everyone on social media, like, the truth would be out there, but
You'd think.
it seems like it's almost easier for people to control what we see.
Almost like a smoke screen.
For sure. So let's unpack this whole thing.
Okay.
Starting with the backstory. So we've got Baldoni, who's known for that male feminist image,
Okay, yeah.
and he's set to direct, and then in come Lively and Reynolds,
Hollywood royalty.
like the ultimate power couple, signed on to star.
Seems like the perfect recipe for, a little bit of drama.
Right. On the surface, you'd think dream team.
Absolutely.
But then this New York Times article comes out,
Oh, boy.
and it paints Baldoni as the villain.
Whoa.
Yeah, like accusing him of running a smear campaign against Lively.
That's a big accusation.
For sure, that's where things get really murky.
Yeah, I bet.
And Lively doesn't hold back. She comes out saying Baldoni, like, completely mishandled her concerns
Oh,
about an intimacy coordinator on set.
okay, that's important.
For sure. And then she even suggests that he was behind all the negative stuff people were saying about her being in the film.
So she's saying he was trying to sabotage her.
Pretty much, yeah.
Wow.
But here's where the timeline gets interesting.
Oh, I love a good timeline twist.
Right. So the metadata from the New York Times article seems to show that it was already being worked on before Lively ever even formally complained.
That is interesting.
So what were they even investigating if no one was publicly accusing Baldoni yet?
Yeah, that doesn't add up.
It makes you wonder about Lively's story.
It definitely raises some questions.
Okay, so maybe Lively kind of jumped the gun with the accusations, but she was really vocal about concerns she had with one scene in the movie.
Okay.
And even claimed that she rewrote it herself.
To make it better for her character.
Yeah, she was like super passionate about this, defending all of her creative input.
Gotcha.
But then, get this, on the red carpet,
Oh, boy, here we go.
she drops this huge bombshell that Ryan Reynolds actually wrote the scene.
Wait, what?
That's what I said.
That changes things.
Totally. It's like, what?
Yeah, it throws everything we thought we knew into question.
Right. Like, it undermines everything Lively was saying before.
For sure.
And you have to wonder what her real motivation is.
Exactly. Is she protecting Reynolds?
Is it all some big PR stunt?
It really paints her in a different light.
It does. And then there's this leaked voicemail from Baldoni to Lively.
Okay.
And in it, he sounds so apologetic, almost desperate to get Lively to be happy and to use her rewrite of the scene.
So he's bending over backwards to accommodate her.
Totally.
This plays right into that whole male feminist narrative around Baldoni.
Right.
Like, he's quick to apologize and do whatever it takes to avoid any conflict.
Maybe even to the point of being manipulated.
Yeah, it's a tough spot.
It is. And Owens even suggests that Taylor Swift might be involved.
Well, hold on, Taylor Swift.
I know. Hear me out.
Okay, I'm listening.
So Swift's tight with Lively and Reynolds.
Right. They're good friends.
Yeah, and she's known for her subtle Easter egg style of communicating.
For those who don't know, like hidden messages.
Yeah, and Owens thinks Swift could be sending support to Lively and Reynolds
Okay.
through her music and social media, just subtly swaying the story.
It's an interesting theory for sure.
Right.
Like, she has a ton of influence.
Oh,
Could she be shaping how the public sees this feud without even saying anything?
it's wild.
It really makes you think about the power of just being close to powerful people.
Like, are Lively and Reynolds feeling untouchable because they're friends with Swift?
You know, maybe they feel like they can get away with more.
So maybe this isn't just a Hollywood feud, but like a whole orchestrated campaign with Taylor Swift pulling the strings?
That's a big leap. Let's not jump to conclusions just yet.
You're right. We need more than just speculation.
We do, but it's definitely something to think about.
For sure, how these power dynamics might be playing out.
Exactly.
So we've got all these accusations flying around and even hints that Taylor Swift might be involved. But let's not forget, there's an actual movie right at the center of all this. And it's when they're actually making the movie that things get really intense.
Oh, how so?
Lively comes out with this list of 17 demands.
17.
17 before she'll even agree to come back to set.
Wow. That's a power move.
Right. And what makes it even more interesting
Okay. Is that it all goes down right as the SAG-AFTRA strike ends.
Oh, interesting.
So Lively and Reynolds are both suddenly free to get back to work.
Right.
And Owens thinks this was all strategic on Reynolds' part.
Like he was waiting for the right moment.
Exactly. She says he didn't want Lively on set with Baldoni
Okay.
and saw the strike as a way to keep them apart.
So he kind of used the situation to his advantage.
Totally. It's pretty clever if you think about it.
It is, especially when you consider that Lively first said no to an intimacy coordinator, but then made it a non-negotiable demand.
A complete 180.
Right. It makes you wonder if it was really about her being uncomfortable.
Or if it was all calculated to disrupt filming.
I see what you mean.
Okay, but how does the strike even fit into all this?
Well, think about it. By making all these demands, Lively basically stalled the whole production.
So Reynolds was free to go off and film Deadpool and Wolverine?
Exactly, without having to worry about Lively spending time with Baldoni on set. So Reynolds was playing 3D chess while everyone else was stuck on checkers.
It seems that way.
And there's other things, too, that back up this theory.
Like what?
Like Lively suddenly wanting to see all the daily footage.
Oh, okay.
Owens argues she was trying to create a paper trail.
In case she wanted to take legal action.
Exactly, setting the stage to discredit Baldoni.
Wow, it's all about controlling the narrative.
And then to make it even worse,
Yeah.
there's this weird little Easter egg in the movie credits.
An Easter egg.
Yeah, they have a special thanks to Gordon Reynolds.
I don't get it.
It's a character from Deadpool.
Oh, so it's like Reynolds is mocking Baldoni.
From inside the movie they were supposed to be working on together.
That's bold.
So petty.
It is. But Owens takes it even further.
Okay.
She suggests that Reynolds might have picked up some of Taylor Swift's revenge-era energy.
Wait, hold on. How does Taylor Swift's breakup fit into this?
Well, she was going through a very public split at the time, and Owens thinks maybe that rubbed off on Lively and Reynolds.
Like it emboldened them to be more, I don't know, audacious.
Exactly.
But how could Taylor Swift's breakup really affect this Hollywood feud? It feels like a stretch.
It's not about her actually doing anything.
Okay.
Owens isn't saying Swift is the mastermind. But think about being close to powerful people.
Okay.
When you're surrounded by that kind of influence, it can change how you see things.
You start to feel invincible.
Maybe. Like you can act without consequences.
So Lively and Reynolds, being friends with Swift, might have felt like they could push the boundaries, manipulate things to get their way.
And don't forget, Reynolds' Easter egg trick.
Oh, yeah.
It's kind of like Swift's own thing with hidden meanings and secret messages.
So is Owens saying Swift is communicating with Lively and Reynolds through these Easter eggs?
Not exactly. She even admits she's not sure about Swift's direct involvement.
Okay.
But she does point out that Swift could easily connected Lively and Reynolds with people at the New York Times.
Oh, influencing that article that made Baldoni look bad.
Right. So maybe Swift isn't pulling the strings directly. But her influence could have shaped things without her even realizing it.
It's like a ripple effect of celebrity power.
Absolutely. Even simple connections can have huge consequences.
Okay, so we've got this alleged betrayal in Hollywood.
Right.
With maybe Taylor Swift lurking in the background.
Maybe.
But Owens doesn't stop there.
Oh, there's more.
She also goes into RFK Jr.'s nomination for Secretary of Health and Human Services.
Okay.
And how his own cousin, Caroline Kennedy, is publicly against him.
Set a sting.
Right. And this part of the video really focuses on RFK Jr.'s stance on vaccines.
Oh, that's a hot topic.
It is, and Kennedy straight up denounced his views.
Strong move.
She even claimed he used to put baby chickens and mice in a blender.
A blender?
Yeah, to feed his hawks.
Hold up, was that a metaphor or something?
Nope, she meant it literally.
Wow.
And Owens was like, wait, were blenders even powerful enough back then?
Yeah, that's a pretty wild image.
Yeah, so bizarre. But putting Blendergate aside,
Okay.
Kennedy's main issue was RFK Jr.'s stance on vaccines.
Particularly his involvement in that lawsuit against the HPV vaccine.
And that's where Owens brings in her own experience.
Oh, right. She's talked about this before.
She says she had bad side effects from the HPV vaccine and argues that Kennedy is exaggerating how well it works and ignoring the risks.
She even did some calculations on her show.
Right. About how cervical cancer rates were already going down before the vaccine became widespread.
Interesting.
But of course, just because two things happen around the same time,
It doesn't mean one caused the other.
Exactly. And while Owens is entitled to her opinion,
Of course.
the scientific consensus is that the HPV vaccine is safe and effective.
Right, tons of studies have shown it can really lower the risk of cervical cancer and other cancers.
It's a complicated issue with strong feelings on both sides.
For sure.
In the end, it's up to each person to weigh the evidence and decide what's best for them.
Absolutely. But before we move on, can we go back to that blender thing for a second?
Okay.
It's just too strange to ignore.
I know, right?
But let's not get lost in the sensationalism.
You're right. It distracts from the bigger issue.
Exactly. RFK Jr.'s anti-vaccine stance and what that could mean for public health.
We need to stay focused on the bigger picture.
Agreed.
And speaking of the bigger picture, Owens drops this crazy revelation.
Oh, no, wasn't it?
That ties this whole story to, get this, a Neil Diamond song.
You're kidding.
I'm serious. Are you ready?
Hit me with it.
Caroline Kennedy.
RFK Jr.'s cousin.
The one and only is the sweet Caroline that Neil Diamond sings about.
No way. Seriously.
Seriously, it's a family connection no one saw coming.
Wow. Talk about a plot twist.
Right. It makes you wonder if their public feud might change how we hear that song from now on.
It's like a whole new layer of meaning.
But let's not get too distracted by Sweet Caroline.
Okay.
We've got so much more to unpack.
Like what?
Like the ethics of these public family battles. The power of the media to shape our opinions.
And how important it is to think critically in a world full of so much information.
Sounds like we're just getting started.
I'm ready.
All right, so we've gone pretty deep into this whole Hollywood feud.
Yeah, we have.
Uncovered some wild connections. And even stumbled upon a blender story for the ages.
Who knew blenders could be so controversial?
Right.
But as we wrap up this deep dive,
Yeah.
I think it's important to step back for a second.
Okay.
And think about what this whole thing tells us about the media.
And how we interact with it.
Exactly, because it's easy to get caught up in the drama.
Oh, yeah, for sure.
And forget that we're seeing this story through a specific lens. Whether that's Candace Owens' YouTube channel,
right,
or the New York Times.
Or even just like our own social media feeds.
Absolutely. And that lens, whatever it is,
yeah,
shapes how we understand the information.
It's like we're all wearing different glasses.
And seeing a different version of the same picture. Owens makes a really good point about not just accepting everything the media tells us. We're constantly bombarded with information these days.
It's overwhelming.
It is, and it's easy to get swept up in those sensationalized stories.
Especially when celebrities are involved.
Right. People we think we know.
We want the juicy gossip.
It's like that saying, don't believe everything you read.
But now it's more like, don't believe everything you see, hear, or read online.
It's not just about the source anymore.
Right.
It's about algorithms.
And echo chambers.
Pushing certain narratives and silencing others.
So how do we even know what to believe?
Well, that's where critical thinking comes in.
Okay.
We can't just passively absorb information anymore.
We have to be more active.
You have to question motives, consider biases, and look for different viewpoints.
It's not enough to just read one article or watch one video.
You got to dig deeper.
But how do we actually do that? I mean, who has time to fact-check everything?
You don't have to fact-check everything, but you can start by asking yourself a few simple questions.
Like what?
Who's presenting this information? What are their motives? Are they giving a balanced view, or are they pushing a specific agenda?
It's a good reminder that everyone has a bias.
Even journalists who are supposed to be objective,
right?
They're still influenced by their own experiences and perspectives.
So it's not about finding a perfectly unbiased source.
Because those are almost impossible to find.
Yeah.
It's about being aware of those biases and seeking out multiple perspectives.
To get the full picture.
Exactly.
It's like that old saying, there are two sides to every story.
But maybe now it's more like, there are 1,000 sides to every story.
And we need to hear as many as possible before we make up our minds.
Well said.
And that's what makes this whole Baldoni, Lively, Reynolds thing so interesting.
It really is.
It's like a case study in how powerful perception is.
And how the stories we're told can shape what everyone thinks.
It reminds us that there's often more to the story than we see at first glance.
And that we need to be careful about what we believe.
We need to be willing to dig deeper and find the truth, even when it's complicated.
Absolutely.
So as you keep up with this saga,
and as you come across other stories that catch your attention, remember to approach them with a healthy dose of skepticism.
Don't be afraid to question assumptions, challenge narratives.
And look for those alternative perspectives.
Because in a world where everyone's trying to control the story,
the truth is often hiding in plain sight,
waiting for us to uncover it.
That's it for our deep dive into the It Ends With Us saga.
We've covered a lot of ground, explored some complex issues,
and hopefully given you some things to think about.
Thanks for joining us.
And remember, stay curious, stay critical, and keep diving deep.